So in today's web dev tip, we're going to take a look at how you can actually build your front-end web app that we added to our NX Mono repo yesterday. And we've got a bit more DevOps work, unfortunately, to do to add that to our pipeline and then add it to our DigitalOcean server on production. But don't worry, this one's pretty simple. It's pretty much just a copy and paste job. So let's first of all look at how we can build our new web app that we created yesterday. First things first, let me just actually commit the changes that we did, because I haven't actually done that yet. So we'll say just add web app is the commit message. And I think we saw yesterday that you can use the NX tool to actually serve the web app locally if you need to. So we'll say NX run, and then the name of the app is rickandroll-web. And then we can say serve. And so to build the app, all we do is replace that with build, replace serve with build. And this will actually create in the distribution folder all of the compiled and transpiled files that we need to actually push to our web server. So we're going to use this to actually build the web app in the pipeline and then do the push as well. So what we're going to do, first of all, first step is just go to our package.json. And we created a kind of convenience node script in a previous tutorial where we build the API, and then we can use that in our GitHub action config file. So I'm just going to copy and paste that. And this time we're actually going to build the app. And instead of building Rick and Roll, which is the API, as I said yesterday, we probably should name that slightly differently just to distinguish it. But we'll say -web, and we'll just build that in the production mode. So let's just test that out first of all, make sure it's working okay. So we'll say npm run build :app, and it should just take a few seconds to build that. And if we now go into the distribution folder, we can see we've got the Rick and Roll folder, which holds our API, and now we've got -web as well. And this is the main index HTML file and all of the JavaScript and style files that we need to actually render. It's only just the placeholder page at the moment, but just to render the entire app is contained there. So that's the first job done. We've got the convenient script created here. The next thing we need to do is go to our GitHub action and make a couple of changes. And again, this is just copy and paste, so don't worry, we're not going into the world of DevOps again here. So we have a step in the GitHub action to actually build the Express app. So if we just literally copy and paste that step and put it here, and here we're going to say build web app, for example. And instead of npm run build API, we're going to use npm run build app. So that's the script that we just created. And then that will run this during the GitHub action. So in our distribution folder within our GitHub workspace, we'll have the built files for our web app. So the other thing we need to do as well, once we've built those files, is we need to do a similar thing that we did with the project files for the API once they're built, and that's to push them to the DigitalOcean server. And we've got all the config set up for that. We've got the SSH keys and so forth. The connection for that should be configured okay. And so all we really need to do again here is just copy this last step for deploying the API, but we're going to obviously change it to the app this time. So we're going to sync those files across to the DigitalOcean server, but we need to make a couple of changes to what we're actually pushing across, because this is going to push the Express API files across at the moment. So we want to take the files from that web project that's just been built. So that'll be the files that are inside of this distribution folder within the GitHub workspace at least. And then we're going to use all of the secrets that we configured a few steps ago now. So we need the deploy user and the deploy host, which is making our SSH connection. But we also want to make sure we're pushing the files to the right place. So the remote app path is where the actual Express files are living. So we created another secret, if you remember, which is remote web path. And of course, this highlights the usefulness of having those secrets, those environment variables, because then you can just go into the GitHub interface and change those if you need to make any changes to where they're stored, rather than having to update your build YAML file all the time if you need to make any changes. So that's pretty much it. We've created the build script. We've actually added that into the CI pipeline. So we're going to build those files when the action runs. And then finally, we're going to actually sync those to the DigitalOcean server as well, and hopefully put them in the right place. So let's actually add that as a new commit. So we'll say git commit feature and add web app to CI pipeline, for example. And if we actually make a push for that, that will actually push our recent changes up to GitHub, and it should trigger that action as well. So if we go over here and just refresh the page on our GitHub Actions page within our repository, you can see that commit has been pushed up there, and we'll check back in a couple of minutes when that's been built, and hopefully we should then see that the placeholder web app that we created yesterday, which looks a little bit like this on our local machine, is actually live on our domain. So let's have a look at how that looks once that's built. Okay, so once that's actually built, you should find that if we look into the actions from the build step, from the action, we've now got another step in here where we're syncing the project files, and you can see here it's going to push all of the files from the built web app up to the DigitalOcean server. So hopefully now, fingers crossed, if we go across to our rickandroll.me website, you can see now this is the placeholder NX page for the web app that we had served locally. If you do see the old index page that you had, then you just might need to clear the cache in your browser. But essentially now we've got our CI pipeline set up to accept any changes for our web app and push them up to the server that we're running. If you do run into any problems with this process as well, you might just need to check a couple of things. First of all, that you've got the secret set up for your GitHub pipeline, so making sure that you've got the right web path in there, and also that the using the right user, and also if the permissions for the particular folder that you're pushing to that web path are actually okay for the user that you're using to actually accept the content across. So if you do run into any problems, just pop a comment below and I'll be able to guide you in the right direction. But that's it for this tutorial. Make sure you stay tuned for more web dev tips.